Imperium is written and directed by Daniel Ragussis and stars Daniel Radcliffe, Toni Collette, Tracy Letts, and Sam Trammell. And Imperium is about an FBI agent, Nate Foster, played by Daniel Radcliffe, who is tasked with going undercover to infiltrate a white supremacist group in order to uncover a suspected terrorist plot. Now, I'm not the biggest Daniel Radcliffe fan in the world. I don't really follow him or his career. I mean, I don't do that for any actor, really. But watching the trailer for Imperium, I was thinking this looks like a really interesting role for him that I don't think I've ever seen him do before. It's a film that, in my opinion, is a bit too committed to telling facts instead of a story. However, the facts that it does present are undeniably just super interesting, and Daniel Radcliffe in this movie does give a very good performance. Let's talk about Dan Radcliffe first. I haven't seen every single movie he's been in, but this really strikes me as one of his best performances. He's not quite like super amazing Oscar worthy yet. He's almost there, but he's really at his best in this movie when he's in tough and tense situations, because you can see his character just thinking on his feet and just feeling the emotional weight of pretending to be a white supremacist. I just kind of wish we saw that level of nuance in every single thing he did in this movie. However, it's still overall a very good performance. And all the actors who play white supremacists in this movie really make their characters feel human. And, you know, they're still really horrible human beings who you really disagree with, but you understand where they're coming from, at least emotionally. Unfortunately, the one weak link in this cast, in my opinion, is Toni Collette. And it's weird because objectively speaking, she is good in the movie. It's just that I don't feel like she fits within this film's world. You know, she's a bit too expressive with her facial expressions and her gestures, so it just doesn't feel like she fits. And just to jump straight into my biggest issue with Imperium, it's the fact that a lot of these characters just, you know, seem to lack some human component to them. Especially Daniel Radcliffe's character, because, you know, in this movie he's kind of just defined by this mission, and they make an attempt to introduce him before the mission starts, but you don't really get a sense of him being a fully rounded person before the mission starts, so I just kind of wanted more from him. And as for most of these white supremacists, like, they really just kind of come across as chapters, or at the worst bullet points in the research that Daniel Ragussis had to do for this movie. But again, like I said, the research itself in this movie is very compelling. You actually do learn a lot about white supremacy in this film to an uncomfortable degree, but it's really valuable information. You know, you really get to learn a lot about power dynamics within these groups. You get to learn about the internal divisions that happen within this larger movement. And again, just like the actors, you understand the beliefs. Like, you don't have to agree with the beliefs. Please don't agree with the beliefs, but you understand where they're coming from, and that makes it all the more chilling. And the plot in this movie does get legitimately intriguing as the film goes on. It takes on this like mystery quality about it that will really leave you on the edge of your seat. And the tension in this movie, in the third act in particular, is thanks also to Daniel Ragussis' ability to be able to squeeze tension out of contained situations. You know, the most tense moments in this movie come from simple actions and simple looks that people give each other. And I really appreciate the fact that the white supremacists in this movie are, you know, portrayed as human, so it's kind of hard to demonize some of them because you've gotten to know them. The tension in the movie isn't 100% consistent though. There are some parts in the first half of the movie that try to come off as big or tense, but they just don't earn that tension early on. But the editing here by Sarah Corrigan is always on point. There's lots of uncomfortable moments where we're made to feel danger coming in from everywhere. This is the kind of movie, though, in my opinion, that starts a bit too abruptly, although that's not the editing's fault, it's more of the writing's fault, because I really appreciate the way this movie was paced. You know, like, it takes its time building its world, and you really feel this sense of mounting dread, so by the ending, it really just kind of explodes. And overall, there's a low budget quality to Imperium that actually kind of works in its favor because it makes everything just feel so real. You know, there's really toned down and realistic blood effects and production design. It makes everything feel like this movie is set at a smaller scale, which does fit the intention of the film to really make the situation feel as close to home as possible and as human as possible. And the sound mixing and musical score by Will Bates are effective in keeping this undercurrent of tension even during seemingly calm moments. Overall, Imperium is a pretty good movie. I still feel that it would have been better just as a straight documentary, because I feel like Daniel Ragussis was more invested in just writing this movie than actually directing it. However, Daniel Radcliffe really is the part of this movie that really justifies it being a, you know, fictional narrative, so he's definitely what you should go to this movie for. Alright, so those are my thoughts on Imperium. If you guys have seen it, please tell me what you thought about it, and whether you agree with me or not, please leave me a comment. Let's have a conversation.